Hello, and welcome to my dining room. This is episode 38 of the Live and Learn Knitting podcast, and it is knitting today. Today is Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. It's a beautiful sunny day here, and it's a busy day. It's a busy time of year, but I'm going to chat with you a bit. First of all, I want to say thank you very much for all the views, the likes, the comments that you send, the emails, messages. It's lovely to hear from everyone. I really appreciate that. The following of this channel is not huge, but it's meaningful, and that's important. So that keeps me going. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. The last episode was the in-betweener episode. I got some good comments on that, and I think in the summer months that is maybe going to be the format that I follow. Just a brief hello and brief chat about something that's happening, and it probably will be knitting related, but it may not be. It might be something outside. It might be more of the the weaving or the sewing or something else. Possibly go out and about somewhere. We'll see. I've been watching still, catching up with Leslie on the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast. And she, for a while, did weekly vlogs, and, it was just a short update about what's going on. And I kind of like that. So in this period of busyness, I think that's how we will proceed for the summer, at least. I'm going to have, hopefully, I've been setting it up. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but some work done to the exterior of the house. Much needed repairs. So there's that, and there's landscaping that I want to do. I was sidelined last year with some injuries, and I didn't get to work out in the yard as much as I had planned. So I've already been out doing, and I just want to be out there every day. Like if I wasn't sitting here right now, I'd be out there. Because it's really nice, and it's, I'm in a state of perpetually being behind. But I think that's just how it goes. There's always more yard work and gardening and that you could always do, and I enjoy it so much. So so that's sort of the procedural update. I did say that in April I would do the drawing for the first quarter prize for the Makers Bingo. And again, since the following is small, I have not had very much response. People requested cards. I sent out the bingo cards, and maybe you're all doing it, or you just wanted to see the card. But I've only, and part of this is probably my fault, for not interacting with the Ravelry group that I set up for the blog. Maybe it's just, I don't know, was it too convoluted to say, you could either email me. I have Deborah who emailed me her progress, and we email quite a bit, Deborah and I really appreciate that. Thanks, Deborah. She's out in the Pacific Northwest doing wonderful creating out there. So I finally sat down and caught up with the posts that had been put on the, sorry about that, on the Ravelry group. And the wintertime make-along had some really good activity. And I probably, I didn't offer prizes with that. It was just a let's chat kind of a thing. And that, I didn't chat. I should have. I'm sorry. I am really sorry. I'll try to do better. But the Makers group, one person participated in that, and I know I said that would have to have a whole bingo to be in a drawing, but I'm going to change that and say, as long as you participate and show that you're doing something, I'll put you in a drawing. So this is a long way to say, for the January, February, March quarter, the winner of the prize is Jaslyn of Eudaimonia. And I keep flipping this. I'm trying to see. I feel like I'm off kilter today. But Jaslyn, yes, you won the prize for the first quarter. And the prize, if you remember, was these two skeins of the Mrs. Crosby upside down yarn, the butter colorway of the steamer trunk. And I thought it's actually a little bit bigger than an Aran, or than a worsted weight. But it's lovely yarn, very soft. And I love that color. So there's that, and the coordinating yogi tees. And I did find some little made-by-me washcloths to go along with the yellow. For some reason, there's a yellow theme to this prize, and here it is. And I hope you like yellow. If you don't, you could re-gift them. I don't mind. This washcloth was for a while in our local knitting guild, I was the Stitch of the Month person, and so for a year. And this was one of our Stitches of the Month, and I can't quite remember what it was called, which way it goes, but it's one of these texture patterns and it's reversible, but not quite. It's not an exact match, but it's interesting on both sides, which for a washcloth, I think or something that's going to be, used two-sided, I think that's kind of important. So there's this one, and then this is my all-time favorite dishcloth pattern. This, I think, is a free one on Ravelry. This was just a swatch out of the book. If I still have the pattern sheet that I made up, I will send that along with the prize too. But yeah, this is just, and I'll put it on the blog as well. But yeah, this round dishcloth, this has so many uses. People think, oh, is it a mat? Could I put, like, I will put my plant pots on these. It's, if you make it thick enough, it can be a trivet kind of a pad, but this is a nice washcloth too. So there's that. So I will get in touch with you, Jaslyn. And Jaslyn is Eudaimonia on Instagram, and follow her if you don't already, because she studies human behaviors, and she has all these wonderful writings about connecting, our knitting to our behavior, why we knit, why it's important, why we want to create things. She's a very interesting person, and I'm glad that we are Instagram followers and that she's participating. I hope I get to know her better. She was going to do a book group this winter into spring, and the book was going to be, I signed up for it, and the book was called Eat That Frog, and it's a time management book, and I was really interested in it, and I did check the book out, the audio book from the library, just briefly started listening to it, and sadly she had to postpone that group. I think she'll pick it up again in the future, so follow her on Facebook and you'll find out the details if she starts it up again. So Jaslyn, I will be in touch on where to send this prize to you. So thank you very much. And I will, hopefully we'll get some more activity for the April, May, June quarter. And, I'll work on another low prize package for that time, and April, May, June. So I will probably draw in mid-July. So keep plugging away and do the Maker Bingo. I have another couple squares that I can check off here. I'm kind of behind checking off on my card as well. So, yeah. I think as the summer months come, it might be easier to do some of these things for me. Like organize your creative space. Yeah, I need to do that, definitely. I think I will cross that off as long as I do a significant amount, because I don't think I will ever finish that job. Be nice, wouldn't it? I would love to finish something big like that. But I digress. This episode today is called Friends with the Benefit, not Friends with Benefits, Friends with the Benefit of a Sweater, because I'm talking about 2 sweaters for 2 friends. And the first one is the sweater I'm wearing. I finished the Pravda sweater for my friend Kathy. Kathy, if you remember, I was wearing this Pravda. No, that is the front. This Pravda in episodes 34, well, 8 originally, 8, which was a holiday episode, and then also 34, when I talked about starting Kathy's version of the sweater, because she watched episode 8, and she's not a knitter, but she's a friend, so she was watching the podcast, and she said, "Oh, I like that sweater. Could you make one for me?" So I said, of course I could, and she loves pink. She picked out these colors. This is Knit Picks Wonder Fluff yarn. Now, this is Harriet Juniper Moon Harriet yarn, and it might even be Harriet Great. So it's 100% baby alpaca. It's heavy. This weighs almost 800 grams, this sweater. It's heavy. It's a furnace. And this Wonder Fluff from Knit Picks is a baby alpaca merino nylon blend. And it's nylon because, can you see, it's hard to see, but there's a nylon tubing, and so the yarn the fibers are blown into the tubing. It's not that I can't focus on it. It's just that you can kind of see it right there. The yarn is so fuzzy that it's hard to see that tubing in there. It's very fuzzy yarn, very fluffy. It is Wonder Fluff. It's very lightweight. And that sweater, which of course is a couple sizes larger also, I think. So that's where more of the weight comes from. But this one is 370 grams. So half the weight of that sweater. And I will stand up and show you. It's, it just, here's the waist to the waistband, bottom ribbing, like that. So it's, this all over pattern, little detail at the sleeve. Kathy said, "Could you put that in?" When she came to try it on, she says, "Do you think you could put in a little something, a little more of the color before you get to the sleeve?" And I'm like, "Oh, of course I can." Yeah, of course. So what I did was I looked at the whole pattern and I thought, well, what part should I mimic? And I saw this little bit here, which sort of reminded me of an upside down Eiffel Tower. And I thought, well, that's pretty. So it's not exactly that, but pretty close. I just pulled that out and I made it work. It was an 8-stitch pattern repeat that I just graphed out a little bit. I think it's a darling addition. I'm very pleased with that. And of course, now I finished this sweater right in time for summer and hot weather, but it's done. And it was really a pleasure to make. And I tell you, Kathy is smaller than I am. She came and she tried it on, and it's loose fitting on her. It fits me. I don't want to say snugly, but it fits me really well. So I thought, oh, I have enough of this yarn left. I could make one for myself too. I don't think I will, but but I'll keep these numbers and this gauge and everything, all my notes. And I might pull out a different yarn from my stash and make another one for myself. Even if I change the yoke patterning, I don't know, but or make the whole thing again. Now that I have like the top down numbers and the cast on, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, because I really like the feel of this sweater. It was a good choice. So yes, this is for my friend Kathy, and Kathy likes bling. And one of the things that I learned in doing this sweater, so I'll get to that in a sec. I'll just more yarn details. Knit Picks Wonder Fluff bulky weight yarn, but it's very not bulky at all, not heavy bulky. The colors are Sweet Pea. This is Sweet Pea. Bear is it's not white, it's a natural creamy color, but it's not like French vanilla cream, it's whiter cream. And the gray is called Cobblestone Heather. So that's that. And I'm only wearing this today to show you. And I haven't washed it and blocked it yet. I'll do that after I take it off today. It does, you can kind of see a bit of a halo and a fuzz. It's when I washed the swatch, all of it settled down a bit. There's still halo to it and fuzz, but this I noticed when I was finishing up knitting it, there would be little floofs kind of coming off of it. So I think all of that the floofs that want to come off will come off, and the rest will just settle down nicely. And this actually even feels even softer than the sweater, which is hard to believe because it's just soft all over. So that's the yarn information. And the one thing I learned, well, I learned a lot of things. Remember that cast on episode 34, where it took me 5 tries to get the right cast on. So I learned there. But the sleeve, I learned some stuff. I know it's all wrinkly because I've been doing this. So that those lines will come out. But when Kathy tried it on, I had it about to here, I think. Or a little bit of this upper arm. And it looked like there wasn't much ease on it for her. And I said, are you sure those sleeves are okay? She's like, yes. I saw what you had to go through for the cast on. You don't need to make any changes. I was worried. So I did not decrease. Usually I will start tapering my sleeves almost from the get-go of doing an armhole. Because in the past my armholes were deeper, hence more sleeve stitches, and you needed to decrease. I needed to decrease rapidly to get to the taper for the cuff. Well, I'm getting better at this measurement here and not having such a deep arm side and having a better, less bulk and everything at the underarms, which is nice, really nice, because I think that makes everything look better, fit better. But I thought, is that too snug? Is it okay? And it fit her good in the underarm, but yeah, I was worried. So I kept that straight until I got to about here. And it was funny, it was last weekend, and I had my friend Peg stopped by, and I was like, I need your help measuring this, because there was a stitch marker, here, and I was trying to hold the measuring tape up, and I knew how many inches this motif would be, and how, I wanted about a 2-inch cuff. So I needed to kind of work backwards from that and figure out where I was at, how many more inches I needed to do. And I was trying to hold the tape measure with this hand and, pull it back to the marker and then read it. And it was a mess. That is one of the places where you really need 2 people. It's hard to measure your own arm length and do all that. And just be able to, because you can't, wait, what does that say? It was complicated. So Peg helped me measure. And as we were doing that, the sleeve that I had, I was probably about to here. And I had only decreased like 4 stitches from here to here, done a little bit of a taper, and it still looked like it was really a wide sleeve. And I thought, oh, that's too wide. If you wanted a blousey, poofy sleeve, fine, but I don't think that's what Kathy wanted. I know it's not what she wanted. So, how am I going to get taper into this quickly? So what I did was, and this is I think it's 4.5 or 4.25 stitches per inch was my gauge. So, that is a bit of a bulkier gauge. But I decreased almost as if I was doing a hat shaping. Instead of just staying, usually our taper for our sleeve runs right along the seam line. Well, I decreased 4 stitches around. I knit around even, and then I decreased another 4 stitches around, so at 4 quarter points rather than at the taper, at the sleeve seam. And that worked really well. So then I did this motif. I had my 8 stitch repeat in there, and I did that motif. And then when I switched back to the gray, I did another 4 or 8 stitch decrease round. I can't remember if I think it was 8 stitch decrease round to get down to like 44 stitches for the cuff, 44 or 48. And then I did the cuff. And I think Kathy has longer arms than I do. She's taller than me, so I think she has a bit longer arms. And see, I'm wearing this bracelet today to show. Kathy likes bracelets. I do too. She likes bracelets and she likes bling. And she sent me this Park Lane bracelet. This is her latest, not obsession, that's not the right word. Her latest thing that she's been getting different Park Lane bracelets, and they're so pretty and sparkly. She loves the good sparkle, and I'm happy she shared a sparkle with me. Mine doesn't match this sweater. It'll match my the one I made last summer, the Gentle Rain tee. It'll go with that nicely. But I wanted her to be able to wear a sparkly bracelet and have it show, and I think this will be just fine on her. So that's the Pravda sweater for my friend Kathy. And I can't wait to get it to her, have her try it on, and hopefully she likes it. And we will meet up. I'm not sure exactly when. She knows it's done. Sent her a photo of it yesterday. So George was snoring, and now you see the jumpy jumps? He's up on the table here. Thought maybe we'd have a cat-free episode. Who knows? So that's the Pravda sweater for my friend Kathy. That's the first sweater. The second one, I don't have the sweater or even a photo of it to show you, so we're going to have to do a little bit of close your eyes and picture it. Okay. The second sweater was a sweater I made for my friend Patrice, and this is Patrice. I met her, and I've talked about her. I've mentioned her in past episodes, and why I'm doing this episode today, why I wanted to do it today specifically, is because today is Patrice's birthday. She was born on April 16th, and she's a few years older than me. Cat ears. Yeah, hi. She's a few years older than I am. And we met in the early 90s, late 80s. Oh my gosh, George. He's ready for his close-up. We met, yes, in the late 80s, I believe it was, very early 90s, at the Weaving Guild in Winona, Minnesota. I had a rigid heddle loom. I think I had maybe just purchased my floor loom. She came to the meeting, one of the meetings, and if I remember right, she was pregnant with her son Greg at that time. And we both together took weaving lessons from Marion Sendelbach. And Marion was a great weaver and a great teacher. And we learned a lot. We had a really good time in her class that just, met once a week at her house. And she had all these different looms. So we became good friends through weaving. And at that time in her life, she was, I think because she was pregnant, she decided that she was going to stay home. Her husband was a large animal vet, and they had a farm, family farm. So she was going to stay home on the farm. They primarily raised cows. She decided she wanted to raise some sheep and, process the wool into yarn and have it be, her cottage industry. And that was why she was learning to weave. And she also wanted to learn to spin, which she did. And she got me interested in spinning. And I don't keep up with it as much. She did a lot of spinning. But she also, in having all these sheep, she had, of course, way more yarn than she could spin herself. So she had it processed. Most of the time, I believe, at Blackberry Ridge fiber mill in Mount Horeb, Wisconsin. And she also did a lot of dyeing because, natural fibers, colors are great, but we all like color too. So she did dyeing. She would, dye the fiber beforehand, afterwards. She just did so much. And then she also had eggs, and she had, chickens with eggs. She had bees and honey. And she was just doing all the things that, all the things I thought I wanted to do someday. But, it's a lot of work. So to sell her yarns and her, she would also, then she was weaving and she would make things with her yarn. I forgot 2 things. I will show you. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, 2 examples. So she would do craft shows, art shows, and take her spinning wheel along and demonstrate spinning, and then sell fiber. A lot of times at those shows, most of the fiber she sold was people that were making dolls. They would use the really curly locks for doll hair. But there would be also every now and again somebody that would knit would come along, and buy her yarn, or somebody that spun would come along and buy the roving and that kind of thing. So I helped her with some of the shows. I would go along and we'd set up, and it was all a learning process of how to have a booth, how to set it up, and she did a lot. It was amazing how she figured all of this out and put displays together and everything. So yeah, I would go along, and I would also, even if I didn't go necessarily on the day, I would give her things as fill-in. Like, she didn't knit, so she had me make things out of her yarn that could then be sold. And we had, kind of a barter system going. So I would make these things for her using her yarn, and then she would pay me for my time in eggs or lamb or honey, which was wonderful. That's how I would like to do things, as everybody trade their talents and trade their, um, you know, the skills in that. So it was a good partnership, and I really enjoyed. I didn't go to all of the shows with her, like I said, but I enjoyed the ones that I did participate in, and yeah, it was fun because then we'd sit there for the day and we'd chat and do the vending and that, um, and then usually stop for dinner somewhere on the way home. So very good friends, and the fiber business with her I don't know how many years she did that. I didn't really keep track, but her life changed. She ended up being on her own for a while, and so didn't have the sheep anymore, wasn't on the farm anymore, went back to doing social work, which was she enjoyed it. She was good at it. And we kept going to, she kept being interested in fiber and had her loom and did weaving, and we would go to different fiber events together, or just different art events and things like that. So yeah, it was really good. One of the things she did was go to Vesterheim Museum down in Decorah and take classes in weaving. And these are examples of some of her, this is a croquebrad class that she took, which croquebrad is on, it's a bound weave technique. And this is the front, this is just a sample piece, and then that's what the back looks like. So a very interesting technique that I have wanted to try. You only need 3 harnesses rather than 4 on a loom. It's like a 3-in-1 or a 2-in-1 warp. And then this is another example. And these are made in a harder Norwegian wool, tapestry wool, kind of a wool. Yeah, so I like this one. And I haven't been using these. I need to tidy up the little ends on here and actually use this because it's so pretty. So that's a couple of the pieces she made. Now, the sweater I made for her. I made several. I made a sweater for her, at least 1 or 2 for her son, Greg, when he was a baby. I made one for her husband that had ducks flying across because he was a big duck hunter. So they were, just silhouettes of ducks flying across the yoke. That was fun. And the one I made for Patrice, it was right at the time when I was I think I had been to knitting camp for 1 summer, and I had also, before that, had a workshop with Meg Swanson, and where I learned the Elizabeth percentage system, and I had also read The Sweater Workshop by Jackie Fee, which there's a gauge page in here where you do all your measurements and figuring. And this is the updated version of that book, by the way. So, she said, can you make a sweater for me out of my yarn? And I think she gave me free rein on what type of, patterning in that. Or I made some swatches and showed her, and she was fine with the pattern. So, okay, here's where you have to imagine. Here's some of her wool, and you can see it's a 2-ply. It's not quite a worsted, but it's probably heavier than a DK, a light worsted, let's call it. It's a 2-ply yarn. And hers would have been natural color, cream color. This is one of her dyes that she did, this peachy color. So picture that yarn and a top-down raglan with, just a regular crew neck, and then the raglan seams going out, and texture pattern of diamonds in relief going down. So sort of a argyle, but faux, texture rather than color work. Vertical rows of diamonds. The diamonds were stockinette stitch on a reverse stockinette background. But of course, because they were diamonds, you sort of had that, tessellated look to them where there were reverse stockinette diamonds too. Although that had a little wider stitch. Like I think there was a 2-stitch separation between the diamond verticals. I really should make this sweater again because it was beautiful. And then the diamonds went down the sleeve as well. I think all the way around. But for sure, they were on the, top of the arm going down. And it was one of the first sweaters that I made, completely like, here, just give me your measurements and I will build a sweater for you. And it was beautiful. It was lovely. She loved it. She wore it well. It fit her well. It was, she could wear it to shows and say, well, this is what you could make with this yarn, and yeah, people really liked it. And it was eye-catching. So it was a good project. And what I appreciated about that project was that she had faith in me, She was very much behind me and, you can do this. You have the skills and the talent and everything, and you can do it. And she really, like the sweater for her husband, I think we found a motif in a book, but we didn't use the construction of that sweater from the book. So again, she was just like, okay, take it and run with it, and really supportive that way. And I really appreciated that. And this is where it gets hard. Sadly, she was killed in a car accident 11 years ago this August. And I miss her more than oh golly, I didn't think I would get this choked up. I miss her because of all of the experiences that we shared together, and yeah, all the support she gave me. Golly. So yes, a very, very good friend and talented in her own right as a fiber artist, definitely. She was a world traveler. She started as in the last few years, in the early, well, I'm not sure when her son got old enough to appreciate traveling. She and her dad and her son would go. They went to South America. They went to Norway. They went to Italy and Iceland, I think. The UK for sure. Scotland. Yeah. And one of the reasons I like to go to Decorah, here's a lesson for you. Here's a live and learn, very much a live and learn lesson, a hard one. She always asked me to go to Decorah with her. And, come to this workshop. It's for a weekend, or come take this class with me. And, or let's just go to Decorah. Let's just go to the museum and see it. And I put her off all the time for reasons of, oh, I can't. Mostly it was just, sometimes it was money. I will admit that, it was like, oh gosh, that's a big expense, and I've already spent way too much money on whatever, and was in debt, etc., etc. So a lot of times it was money, which I hated to admit, or I didn't admit. I would make something else up. I'm too busy, I can't do it. Sometimes it was just me being too introverted to go, She seemed so outgoing and wanted to do these things, and I would hold back. I would do some of them with her, but not all of them. And Decorah was one that I never did go with her, and she always had such a good time. And I always felt like, oh gosh, Decorah, it's way down in Iowa. It's the other side of the world, and it would be an overnight, and oh, no, I can't do that. Oh, I should have. I really should have. And so after she passed away, I started going to Decorah. And that's, here we go again. That's one of the reasons why I like to go down there, is because even though she's not here, I feel like I'm spending time with her because she liked it so much. Okay, so that is 2 sweaters for 2 friends. That's a lot of tears, but I knew, I guess I knew there would be a lot of tears. So, I've got one more thing to talk about. Okay. Composure. Yikes. The sweater, the test knit for Crayabea, I'll just show it briefly because it's kind of in a weird, like here's the back, and then here's the front. So I just connected the 2 fronts with the put this neck edge on, and so now I'm working this down, and then it will be ready to join the underarms. And I've been saving my sleeve shaping. George is gonna throw up. That's not good. Anyway, I've been saving my sleeve shaping to make sure that the armhole depth is big enough. Sorry. Oh, I hope you don't hear that. Poor George. I upset him with my tears. Now he's throwing up. Oh my gosh. What an episode. I don't think I can do a second take of this. You're just going to have to put up with me. Anyway, and George, I'm trying to talk over the noise. Anyway, so yeah, this is where I'm at, and it's kind of all a tangle of, because I'm working with the 2 strands of yarn together. And if you remember, this is Malabrigo sock, and the colorway is called Rayon Vert, which is French for the green ray. And these blips, which don't really look terribly green, are the green ray, which is a phenomenon where the setting sun, when it hits a calm sea or the clear sea, can shoot a ray of green light into the air for seconds, just seconds. So I said there was a novel by Jules Verne called The Green Ray, or Rayon Vert, and I wanted to, the synopsis of it sounded interesting, so I wanted to try and find a copy of it. So luckily, WisCat, which is our, like, one step further than our interlibrary loan in our library system, had a copy at the University of Eau Claire library. So it's The Green Ray and The Blockade Runners by Jules Verne. And I have never read any Jules Verne. I have seen, some of the dramatizations. And he's French. And this novel was set in Scotland. And I thought, how is this going to go? And he's French. He wrote in French. Who did this translation? And how's that going to be? Because, sometimes translations are not verbatim. They are an interpretation. Well, I read the introduction, which was very good, and I don't think it says in here who translated it, but it's very good. I'm enjoying it, and it doesn't read like a French novel necessarily. It does read more like a like a British novel. And so I am to the point where they are in Scotland. Well, they always were in Scotland. It's set in Scotland. But they are on the steamer. They are heading for this spot where they thought they could go and see the Green Ray. They want to marry, these two bachelor uncles want to marry their niece off to this professor who sounds just ghastly. And she says, oh, I have to see the Green Ray before I get married. And the legend is that, you look into your loved one's eyes and see, that's when you see if you really love them or not, or you see the truth, kind of a thing. So, yeah, so I'm not sure if she's putting them off. She's being very, she's like, oh yeah, I'll marry him, sure, yeah, but first I want to do this, so, if she's putting them off, she's doing it in a very polite way. So, it's good. It's really good. It was hard to find, but I'm glad I was able to find it. So, and I think it's really interesting because, Rebecca Clow, the designer of the Lusk tea, is Scottish. She's in Edinburgh. So to read a Scottish novel and work on her sweater, that's kind of fun. It's a good, fun connection. So, so that's that. And I will leave you with that. I don't have a good quote to end the day, but I think it's been enough. If I say something about friendship, well, friendship is important, so value your friends. Value your true friends, and you know who they are. And yes, Patrice was definitely a true friend. And Kathy is a true friend as well. She is generous and kind, and she's very sassy, but in a good way. And I really love you, Kathy, and I hope you enjoy your sweater as soon as you get it. So, there. Love and friendship to you all. Yes. Yes. Take care, everyone. Be well. Enjoy the spring day, and wherever you are, if it's spring or fall in the southern hemisphere, and if your cats are happy. I have to take a cat to the vet this afternoon. Gracie's got to go to the vet. So more about that in the future, perhaps. Hope that all goes well. So yes, be well. Enjoy your making, your creativity, and share your stories with me about making things for your friends if you have. That would be really nice. Because, we all do it. We all have someone that we knit for that, it's meaningful. So, yes. Okay. Take care, everyone. We'll see you in a few weeks, and be well. Bye-bye.